nonprofit that really works on tackling some of the toughest issues that happen to marginalized folks across our state. And so we do a lot of work on a lot of different social justice issues, and we care about a lot of the systems that affect marginalized people. So we do a lot with our criminal justice work, juvenile justice, but we're here today to talk a little bit about our work with education. In particular, we're here to talk about a phenomenon called the school-to-prison pipeline. Now, who in here has heard of the school-to-prison pipeline? Okay, some of you, not everyone. It's a phenomenon by which more and more often juveniles that end up in the juvenile justice system have their first involvement getting into trouble that happens at the schools. And so we did some research about 5 or 6 years ago that really looked at discipline practices across the state to see what's happening in our schools and how that should affect how discipline works and how many kids are coming into the juvenile justice system. What we found was that, unsurprisingly, discipline was applied differently across the entire state, and there were some disparities along different racial and socioeconomic lines. So Georgia Appleseed, being an organization that's really focused on solutions, that's really focusing on getting to the root issue of different problems, decided that we wanted to do something about it. So we've, over the past few years, been engaged in promoting effective student discipline practices. And really, this is getting us away from the exclusionary discipline, suspension and expulsion, and really trying to figure out what's going on in the lives of these children. Why are they getting suspended or expelled? What's going on? Can we wrap our arms around them so that they have a different outcome, so they're on the path to success, not the path to prison? But we realized pretty early on that this wouldn't be able to happen if we didn't have local buy-in. And so us being Georgia Appleseed, not Atlanta Appleseed, decided we wanted to get outside of Atlanta and Fulton County to really go see different places throughout the state. So we've been engaged in Macon and Bibb County. We've been engaged here in Doherty, in Albany, and also in Richmond County and Augusta, promoting effective student discipline practices. So it looks like different in a lot of different places, but most of what we've done thus far has been really promoting PBIS, positive behavioral interventions and supports. And so what that is, we'll learn about today, but really that's a way of teaching students the appropriate expectations of how they should act and really supporting them when they don't act appropriately. But we haven't done this alone here, especially in Doherty County. We've had a great group of individuals that have been working with us to plan events, to work together with the school system, to really see how these things can work together. So we know that it takes the community being all in together for these outcomes to work. And it really takes all of us coming together to really make a difference in the lives of our children. So that is why we're here today. Georgia Appleseed is really thankful for the work of the All In Committee. We're thankful for all of our local partners. We're just really excited to be here. We wanted to talk about school climate, PBIS, and mental behavioral health support. So let's just take a poll. Who in here, raise your hand if you know what school climate is. So let's see, we got about 7 or 8. Most of us. Who in here knows what PBIS is? Okay, most of us. And who in here knows about the behavioral and physical health supports that are offered in Doherty County schools? Fewer of us. Okay, so we've got some room to learn. And essentially, at the end of the presentation today, we want everyone to be 100% on all of those questions. And so as we're going through our presentations today, have those 3 questions in the back of your mind. Those are the things we want you thinking about constantly. How does this affect school climate? How does PBIS impact this? And also, what about mental and behavioral health supports for children? So now I'm going to bring up the Executive Director of Georgia Appleseed to introduce our keynote speaker. So this is our Executive Director, Tally Wells.
Thank you, Terrence. Terrence has worked so hard to put today together, and I'm so grateful for all the work he does as our staff attorney, supporting Doherty County, supporting Augusta, Richmond County, and also Bibb, Macon County. And he also leads our Georgia Education Climate Coalition, which brings together state agency advocates and leaders across the state to really think about school climate, behavioral health, and what are those next steps so that we can keep more children in school and we can keep kids out of the school-to-prison pipeline, the criminal justice system. And he's done extraordinary work, and I'm so grateful for him today. We're hoping lots and lots of people will keep coming through the doors. We got 60 folks who signed up to be here today. But what I'm so excited about is that each of you are here today, because we want those people who care the deepest about our kids, who can make the difference, who are the decision makers and the people who care the most, because you make the most difference. And one of those people, I'm so excited, has joined the board of Georgia Appleseed. You know him as your school superintendent. He, Ken Dyer, he has been here at Albany State, where he was the chief financial officer. He worked with the Dougherty County Schools as its CFO, and then he became the head of the Dougherty County Schools. And anybody who knows Ken knows that he has the energy, the commitment, the passion for the kids here in Albany, every single child, that they will do well. When I get Ken on the phone, it's always by his cell phone, and he's always out and about somewhere in Dougherty County Schools. He's at the robotics fair. He's at the teacher meeting. And then when the summer comes, he is traveling around Dougherty County, but also the country, to meet with those people. I called him, and I think I caught you somewhere on the highway in Texas, maybe, going to meet with some big shot CEOs, executives, because you wanted them to hear about what was happening in Dougherty County Schools and how they could be part of what's happening here. And when we think about what a school system can do to really bring all of the children up, that has a lot of opportunity, but can really sort of bring the resources to bear. Dougherty County Schools is that school system, and having Superintendent Dyer is the exact person. We are committed at Georgia Appleseed, as Terrence said, to ensuring that children get the supports they need all the way through the line. So one of the things that I want to make sure you know about is early childhood interventions that can exist. There's something called the Cox Campus that the speech school runs. One of the things that they have learned through a lot of evidence-based research, a lot of support from the Cox family, has been that communication is so essential. If a child doesn't understand what they're being told, there's a good chance they're not going to do what they're being told. And they're going to start to act out. They're going to start getting frustrated. They're going to start saying, I don't get it. And I get that, because I have a child. I won't call him out, but I have a child who has a lot of these communication and sensory issues and different things that if certain things happen, he reacts. One of those things, and his sister loves to do it, is the smell of oranges. For whatever reason, the smell of oranges sets him off. So, of course, what is his sister always trying to do? Bring an orange around. Oh, I just found this orange. I'm going to open this orange up. But the more we understand our children, the more we know sort of what their needs are, the better they are, and the better we are in raising them. But this Cox Campus, and I encourage you all to Google the Cox Campus. These are free resources for educators, for parents, with video, whole lessons on communication and raising our children and having classrooms that are inclusive for all kids. If we could provide those resources and make sure everybody knows about them, because they're free, which is a pretty good price, the more we can educate ourselves. There's other earlier interventions. One of the other things we're working on at Georgia Appleseed is trying to make Georgia the leading state for school-based behavioral health services. And what I always hear when I say that is, well, have you heard about Dougherty County Schools? They've got these health clinics inside the schools. And of course, those need to grow and hit every school, but they are a great example of how we can reach children early on. And so we are so proud of the work y'all do here. And we basically want to tell everybody else about the work you're doing here, but we also want to get y'all the financial support to really have it throughout your schools. But there's another program called Georgia Apex, which is also school-based behavioral health. And that is funding that the state provides for behavioral health providers to come into the schools, and then they actually, most of it is paid for through Medicaid, through private insurance, through Peach Care, and so it's something that can be replicable throughout all the schools. So we're working on that. We're hoping to come back here in Albany. We're seeking some funding. We've built a partnership with the Carter Center for Mental Health and Voices for Georgia's Children to do forums across the state to specifically look at best practices like what you're doing here in Dougherty County, and also to see how it can wed up with these other early interventions, how we can marry it up with the PBIS work that you do, and there's a great fit between sort of how they've designed Georgia Apex and PBIS, and then how also kids who are getting on the deeper end, kids who are maybe going to face the school tribunal, or maybe face alternative school, or the GNATs, or becoming involved in the juvenile court system. How do we ensure that those kids also get those deeper services that they're going to need because they have deeper needs? And how do we also marry that up with another thing that we've worked on at Georgia Appleseed, which is CHINS, Children in Need of Services. So I am so excited about what you're doing in Dougherty County. I'm so excited each of you got up on a Saturday morning. We joined you. You picked me up at 5:45 this morning because we wanted to be with y'all. And we wanted to hear from Superintendent Ken Dyer, so here he is.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't know why he wants to hear from me. I don't have a lot to say, but I think we're invited. I appreciate being on the board. It's good work, and I believe in what we're doing. Of course, Albany is my home. And those of you that know, it's funny that Tabby introduced me to most of you, been knowing longer than he has. But because I've been here since 1985, and so most of you know me by now. Know that I don't like standing in front of a podium. So I'm gonna walk around. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So we're gonna walk around a little bit and talk. I'm an introvert, believe it or not. You know, I get nervous when people look at me when I'm talking. So I get behind you and talk. What are my coping mechanisms? So, but anyway, it's good to be here. And I said, look, see, plus, I'm not distracted. You're gonna look at the screen. That's what all the information is. So it's good to be here. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, all right. And I want to talk a little bit about meeting the needs of the whole child. That's the logo for the Georgia Department of Education on the screen. And we use it on everything that we do. Not because we're part of the Georgia Department of Education, but because we believe in educating the whole child and meeting the needs of the whole child. And what exactly does that mean? Addressing the needs of the whole child not only empowers our school systems and our schools to address those non-academic factors that sometimes impede academic achievement. It also maximizes education opportunities for those students and preparing them for life. Ready to learn, ready to live, ready to lead. So, the whole child, what does that mean? In addition to school-based instruction or Tier 1 instruction, we also provide academic support, increased learning time, before school, after school, Saturday school. Most school systems in the country, especially in Georgia, they do that. We also have behavioral interventions and mental health support. Of course, our school counseling, school social work services, and we also, a few years ago, we invested in behavioral specialists for those students that you mentioned that have issues that go beyond the basic behavioral issues. We have 4 behavioral specialists in the system, over and above the allocations for the school social workers and the school counseling department. What we try to do is change our approach to discipline. Students don't learn when they're not in school. So if the reason for issue in discipline is to change behavior, you can't just send them home without interventions. Have them come back and expect them to change their behavior. It doesn't work. As a matter of fact, the first time I became familiar with Georgia Appleseed was several years ago when you came down and did a presentation at First Baptist Church. Friendship Baptist Church. And had a grandmother who was raising her grandchild, and she said sending him home didn't work when she was with his mother. He was with her mother. And he said, because he had to stay at home, he could stay at home, he could take chips and play video games all day. He didn't have to sit in school. Now, when I know, if I got suspended when I was in school, I wouldn't be sitting at home playing video games and eating potato chips. But this kid, he's like, hey, there's no deterrent for me acting up because I get to take home and have fun and not have to go to school. So suspension doesn't work. It doesn't work. So what do? Positive Behavior Intervention and Support, PBIS. We started that shortly after we had the conversation at Friendship Baptist Church. And as led by the young lady sitting over here, Diane Bowes and Ms. Goshen, Davis, Davis, and they've done a wonderful job. And we're not going to go into what PBIS is, because I think Terrence said most of you know what it is already. But for those that don't, we'll go very briefly. It's a corrective approach to establishing behavior supports and a social culture needed for all students to achieve in school, and it's socially, emotionally, and academically. It teaches behavioral expectations and rewards students for following those expectations. And people believe there's a better approach to reward that behavior than wait for them to do something bad, misbehave, and then issue punishment. And the purpose of it is to establish a climate where appropriate behavior is the norm. Now that's worked with us. From 2015 to 2018, we've seen a decrease in our office discipline referrals of about 23%, and our out-of-school suspensions of about 17.5%. But some people say PBIS doesn't really work by itself. Once you stop giving the rewards for good behavior, will the good behavior stop? I don't think it will, because I think when they start exhibiting those behaviors, it becomes the norm, and they do it whether they get rewarded or not after a time. But positive behavior intervention support by itself can't get the whole job done. We have issues that go beyond some of those minor issues, and people and students still do things that get them in trouble. So how do we deal with that? Again, the traditional method is to suspend them, send them home, put them out of school without any interventions, bring them back, and expect behavior to change. That's not going to work. So just this year, we started our restorative practices effort. Restorative practices seeks to repair relationships. It's a strategy that seeks to repair relationships that have been damaged, even through bullying. And what it does, it brings a sense of remorse and restorative action for the people or the person who offended someone, and also tries to foster forgiveness by the victim. It enables those folks who've been harmed to convey how that impacted them, to those who inflicted that harm on them. And it also gives the person who inflicted that harm an opportunity to accept responsibility and to make steps to make it right. Now, it sounds pie in the sky to some people, but I tell you it works. We had Mark Gooden, who graduated from the Doherty County School System and Albany State University. He's a former educator, former director of the principalship program at University of Texas at Austin, and currently an endowed chair at the Teachers College of Columbia University. He's also credentialed through the Institute for Restorative Practices. He came and he did a training with our secondary principals, our middle school, high school principals, and assistant principals, as well as our police force. We have our own police force in the Doherty County School System, have about 18 sworn officers. And they went through a 2-day training on restorative practices. And I can tell you, without going into a lot of details, there are at least 3 instances that happened this year that could have resulted in felony charges by students. But our police chief said we're going to use our restorative practices, and we're going to have them talk to the victims and those people, those students, and their parents, the victims and the perpetrators. They agreed to go with the restorative practices and not pursue legal charges because we didn't want to have a kid stuck with a legal record, criminal record. This early in life. And it does work, but it takes a lot of commitment. It's easy to do things we've always done, and just get rid of them, put them in out-of-school suspension, send them to the juvenile court system, and not take that extra effort. But it does work. We haven't been doing it long enough to get down on it because we just started this year, but I'm sure this time next year we'll have a lot of data to support the fact that this does work. Now, we talk about behavioral interventions, and that's important. But the whole child needs a lot more than just behavioral intervention. We have a hunger problem in Southwest Georgia. So we have to tackle that as well. How many people know what food insecurity is? Food insecurity is it means that when a student is not in a structured program where they provide meals, they don't know where that next meal is going to come from. So if they're not in school, or not in school program or summer program, they don't know where they're going to get the food from. We have about half of our students in the Southwest Georgia area suffer from food insecurity. So as a result, and that impacts learning. If the students are hungry, they're not going to be able to learn. So what we did several years ago with our school nutrition program, we already offer universal free breakfast and universal free lunch. And now we have what we call a third meal program for students who are in an after-school program that's academically based, not football practice and basketball practice, unfortunately, but after-school programs that are tutorial or academically based. They get a free hot meal at the third meal of the day. So some students in the Douglas County school system get their breakfast, their lunch, and their dinner from the school system. And that happens Monday through Friday. Just this year, believe it or not, people do eat on the weekends. They want to eat on the weekends anyway. So what do we not do on the weekends if we don't have school? So this year we piloted at one of our elementary schools at Morningside with First United Methodist Church here in Albany, what we call the Helping Hands program. It's a statewide organization, and they started a chapter here. What they do is they go to our schools Monday through Friday during breakfast and lunch, and we get our students who go to that school to take the food items that are not eaten, the prepackaged items, the milk, the juices, and other food items that are not open, and whole fruit. And we instead of throwing them away, and they don't eat them, we keep them. We store them in the cooler during the week. On Friday mornings, they come in, they package those up, and they give it to students who need them so they can have food on the weekends at home. 420-something cartons of milk, 100 plus cartons of juice, untold numbers of packaged food, prepackaged food were collected in a week at an elementary school that would have been thrown in the trash can. Now we go to help hungry families on the weekend. Those are the type of things you have to do. And believe it or not, those kids are hungry. They come to school, it affects behavior as well. They sometimes they act out. So this is the way that we can help educate the whole child, meet the needs of the whole child, not only through academic support, behavioral interventions, and mental health support, but also by helping them have food when they're hungry. The next thing, our community partnerships. There's a saying that I can't do all the good the world needs, but the world can use all the good I can do. And we know we can't do it alone with the school system. That's why we have community partners, many of whom you'll see out there today. And we provide our wraparound services. And you ask, what are wraparound services and why are they important? And what does the school system have to do with wraparound services? That's not teaching and learning. Well, Maslow's theory, hierarchy of needs theory, applies to education as well. Now, those who are familiar with that, it says that you don't care about the higher order needs until your basic needs are met. Physiological needs, safety needs, belonging, esteem, self-actualization. That applies to education as well. If you're not fed, if you're hungry, if you're sick, if you don't have adequate housing, you don't know where you're going to be, you're going to lay your head at night when you leave school. You're not going to concentrate on what's going on in math class or English class. The teacher can be teaching the best they can, but you're not going to get the results from those students because they're not focused on learning. They're focused on those exterior factors that impede their ability to learn. But yet we hold the teachers accountable for the students not getting it. So what we try to do with our wraparound support service is meet those non-academic needs that impact the student's ability to learn through services that we perform within the school system and by partnering with our community partners that specialize in those areas. Some of those things are, as Callie mentioned, back in 2012, all the area of primary health care, who I see someone here today from AAPAC. I went to graduate leadership Albany, and I just happened to be in a class with the then CEO, current CEO of Albany area of primary health care. And sometime after we graduated, she called me and said, "Ken, I have a great idea." I said, "What is it, Shelley?" She said, "We're going to start a school-based health clinic in one of your schools." I was like, "Why?" She said, "Because." And she told me all the reasons why about students being out of school, being sick. Of course, things I already know, I already do. Practicing medicine through the emergency room, which is not healthy and expensive, and a lot of other things. And She said, I said, okay, it sounds like a great idea, let's do it. She said, there's one problem. I said, what's the problem? She said, I don't have money for the construction. so I went to the superintendent then, Dr. Mosley, and I said, hey, I need $75,000 to renovate a section of Turner Elementary School to put a school-based health clinic in. He said, why? And those of you that know Dr. Mosley, he said, why the heck do you want to do that? He didn't say heck. You get those that know Dr. Mosley know what I'm talking about. But and I told him why. He said, sounds like a good idea, let's do it. And so we did. And that was in 2012. In 2018, we have 4 of those centers in Turner Elementary School, Alice Coastal Elementary School, Live Oak Elementary, and Robert Harvey Elementary School. And they've done wonderful work. And I know they're, without violating HIPAA laws, we've had several instances where students had chronic illnesses that could have been life-threatening if they had gone undetected. One example was a young lady who was sleeping in class all the time. They thought she was lazy. She couldn't stay up. And so when they were talking, she went to the office to get in trouble with sleeping in class. And the nurse, the physician's assistant, just happened to be there. She said, let me see you. She had a sleep disorder. She wasn't sleeping that night. And it could have been a sleeping disorder that she could have died from if it had gone untreated. So these are some of the things that students deal with that have nothing to do with education, with instruction, but they impedes their ability to learn. So we have to meet those needs as well. After the school-based health clinics, a friend of mine called me, Sonia Avery, Auburn State classmate, she's passed on now, but she said, Ken, I just sold my practice to Auburn Area Primary Health Care. I'm their director of dentistry now. I said, okay, that's great. What do they have to do with me? And she said, we're going to have a dental clinic in Turner Elementary School. I said, dental clinic? Yeah. So I talked to the principal at Turner Elementary, Dr. Jones. She said, yeah. They were talking about hygiene one day, dental hygiene. And she was to a kindergarten, and she talked about what do you do when you brush your teeth with the toothbrush and all that. And a kindergarten asked her, what's a toothbrush? Some things we take for granted. Some of these kids don't get basic dental hygiene. And so, you know what? I said, yeah, it's a need. Let's do it. And so we opened up a dental clinic there, and we're servicing it's 2 days a week. And that was in 2014, I think. Now we have one there, and we have one at Albany Middle School. And I forgot to put, we have one at Alice Coastal Elementary School too. This last year, we started our first Clifton Bush, who said Shelley, who was the chief operating officer at the time, and now the CEO. Clifton Bush, an Auburn State grad, and now the COO. He called me, Ken. I said, yeah, I got an idea. I said, what is it? We're gonna put a vision clinic in one of your schools. I'm like, what? I said, hey, let's do it. So we did it, and Alice Coastal Elementary School now has a vision clinic. And you remember, what did that have to do with education? The first month we were there, we saw 240 students. 160 of them needed prescription glasses. Can you imagine the impact that had on their ability to learn? They're sitting in the back of the class, or the middle of the class, they can't see the board. They don't know they have a vision problem. I'm good at ball here. How you doing, man? I've been bragging on you. they didn't know they couldn't see well. That's how they've been seeing life their entire life. So these are the type of things that you have to do to meet the needs of the whole child. And believe it or not, that impacts discipline too. They can't see. They're not learning, they're not engaged. Then they get into things that can get them in trouble. We also have behavioral health services. Auburn Area Primary Health Care just started. Aspire Behavioral Health. They have site-based centers at our schools, at some of our schools. They also have a center in town that they see some of our more severe cases with the parents. Literacy and GED services for parents. Why does that matter? Because a stable home life helps a student concentrate better in school. If the home life is unstable, then they're going to concentrate at school because they're worried about things at home. Now we can uplift the whole family. It helps impact those children. Job placement services through Strive to Thrive for parents. Those are some things that we're doing right now. And we're doing them all. It's kind of disjointed, not all together, and people are working in silos, so to speak. So what our vision is is a wraparound support services center. We have all of those services in one location. We're not going to move our dental clinics to our schools and our site-based health clinics from our schools. We're going to open up central services in one location that's on the bus route. And we can use our federal funds to help pay the transportation costs for the families to get from their house to their wraparound support services center. Because transportation is a barrier to providing these services as well. Phase 1 is going to open in January 2019. It's at our old Lincoln complex. We're going to have emotional and behavioral health support there, medical services there, pregnancy counseling, job skills training, literacy and GD services. We have 7 community partners that are committed right now. Phase 2 is going to begin in fall of 2019. It's going to be based on a survey of our students and our parents to see what services do they need. We want to offer what they say they need. A lot of times we offer things that we think they need and they don't really need them. And that's why the services don't get used. So we're going to survey them, ask them what services do you think are critical to your success. And we're going to try to find partners to provide them a space in that building to offer those services. Again, beginning January 2019 in phase 1, phase 2, fall 2019. It'll be used for expansion. These sections are already committed to community partners. And this is the area that's set aside for expansion after we do our student survey. So, that's it. Meeting the needs of the whole child. What does it take? It takes a desire to make a difference. It takes a belief that it will work. It takes resources. Remember that call I got from Shelley? It takes resources. The additional behavior specialist takes resources. The renovation of the wraparound support center takes resources. So a desire to make a difference, belief that it will work, resources. But most importantly, it takes commitment. Tally mentioned that earlier. It takes a commitment. Not just interest. Interest will get you started. But commitment is going to have to see you through. I think Ken Blanchard, I'm going to paraphrase him, Ken Blanchard said that the difference between interest and commitment is when you're interested in something, you do it when it's convenient or when it's fun. When you're committed to something, you do it even when it's no longer fun, but you don't use it as an excuse. No excuses. You don't accept excuses, you only accept results. So that's what we're going to expect. We're going to expect nothing less, we're going to accept nothing less than meeting the needs of all of our students in the Northern County school system to help that meet the academic needs and the non-academic needs, and not only our students, but the families as well. And that's it. Not much of a keynote. I didn't know I was doing a keynote. I thought I was doing a brief presentation. I'm going to get Terrence a little later. Any questions?